Okay, sorry.
No worries. We're just getting set up. Hi, everyone. We're just going to invite everybody else to join. We're going live with Uni Reach today. Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining. Hi. We're just going to invite Naman, who's going to be joining us from Uni Reach. Let me go ahead and invite them. One moment. Uni Reach. Okay. On. So hi everyone. While they're joining today, so yes, great. We've got Naman here. Hi everybody, and welcome to today's Instagram live, or rather tonight's Instagram live. Tonight we're going live with our very special partners, Uni Reach, and over here today we have Naman. So we're just going to start with a brief intro. For anybody who doesn't know me, I'm Phil from EasyA. What we do is we connect students with tutors on demand. And we're doing this for free as well, so that students can get connected with somebody who's able to help them through a maths question without having to pay for it. But right now, I'm here with Naman, and we're going to discuss a little bit about what life at Oxbridge is like. So Oxford and Cambridge, sort of universities are steeped in tradition. There's a lot of mystery surrounding them. And what this series is, and it's going to be every night at 10, what this series is going to be about is demystifying Oxbridge and explaining what Oxbridge is about, sort of removing some of the mystique, some of the mystery, and just showing what it really is. So with us today, we have Naman, who is a current student at Oxford. And over to you, Naman. I mean, could you explain to us just a little bit, so our viewers know a little bit about UniReach, what it does, and a little bit about yourself, sort of what college you're at, Oxford, what year you're in.
Yeah, so hi Phil, it's really great to be joining you. So I co-lead Uni Reach alongside Zoe, who's another student at Oxford. And so Uni Reach connects Oxbridge applicants from state school and disadvantaged backgrounds with a current Oxbridge student in as fast as 24 hours. So whenever you think you need help with your application, any advice, maybe you want to do a mock interview, you can book a session, and in as fast as 24 hours, we'll connect you with an Oxbridge student doing that subject. And so myself, I'm a first year student studying PPE, that's philosophy, politics and economics at Merton College at Oxford.
Super. Yeah, I mean, that's pretty fast, 24 hours. I mean, you're not beating us, which is what, a couple of minutes, but it's slightly different. So UniReach, for anybody who hasn't come across them yet, UniReach connects students with mentors. So it's more about building that relationship. Whereas for anybody who's following us and watching today from EasyA, we connect students to solve a particular problem that they have. So it's slightly different, but they really complement each other really well. So yeah, 24 hours, pretty impressive. Hats off to you, Naman, and also to the team at Uni Reach for putting that all together. It's really impressive.
Oh, thank you so much.
Cool. So I guess, yeah, I mean, we've spoken a little bit outside of Uni Reach and outside of this Instagram Live. But I think what a lot of students are sort of wondering about, or a lot of students who are potentially thinking about Oxbridge, what they're wondering about is, what is life actually like when you're there? How hard is the work? Some people might think, Oxbridge, Oxford and Cambridge, they're full of all these geniuses. How hard is it? Will I be able to cope? I mean, you just probably finished, second term there at the moment, going into third. So yeah, what were your first impressions? Sort of how hard is the work? Is it manageable? Sort of were you sort of just drowning in it? And how's it been sort of in terms of work-life balance?
Yeah, no, I can totally relate to that. That's one of the fears I had when I started Oxford. But I think I can definitely say that, while the workload can be challenging, it is, they do put quite a bit of work on you. You quickly get used to it. You develop a timetable and some good time management strategies. And everybody manages the workload really well and feels really comfortable in that, and then is able to do lots of fun things with their friends, sports, clubs, whatever, as well in their free time alongside that. So yeah, it is challenging at first, but you quickly adapt, and then you handle it easily.
Yeah, I mean, is it a big step up from secondary school? Like, GCSEs, you do them. They're a step up from when you were studying, when you're 13 or 14. And then A levels are a step up from GCSEs. Is uni at Oxford even more of a step up? Is it 10 times harder, or what would you say? Is it manageable? You get used to the extra work?
Yeah, so what I would say firstly, in terms of the workload, it is a bit of a step up, but as I said, you quickly get used to it. The real difficulty is that you've got a lot more freedom now. So you've got to learn how to manage your time yourself without other people structuring your time. But that's the difficulty that you quickly get over. And then secondly, in terms of the difficulty of the work itself, I would say that the work is definitely challenging. They do, want to stretch you intellectually, and you want to be really independent in taking it. But there's lots of support available, and one of the great things about Oxbridge is that you're working, directly with your tutor, and they're going to be able to assist you with any questions you have, any problems you have, in a really one-to-one or two-to-one, three-to-one way. So there's lots of individual tailored support. So at the end of the day, it's all manageable, and you feel really comfortable, and that you're going to be able to do well at the end of the year.
Yeah, that's really great. I mean, that's all. I think that's something that, at least while I was there as well, or at least across the pond at the other place in Cambridge, I think that a lot of people, when they were joining, a lot of us were all wondering, like, the work's going to be so tough. But you gradually, you do settle into it, and everybody's in the same boat as well. So it's not like you're the only person there who's feeling, the work is super tough. How am I going to do it? Everybody's sort of just, everybody's struggling just as much as everybody else. So you do just get used to it.
Yeah, it's one way to bond with. Sorry, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. Go ahead.
No,
Go ahead.
I said it's a great way to bond with your housemates and all your friends as well. At the end of the long evening, you're all tired and stressed out a little bit, and you can just relax together and make some nice memories.
Yeah, and I mean, you do also make an interesting point about sort of having a lot more freedom, because you're right. It's very different to at school where you're set homework every week. I mean, you are set like supervision work to be doing, or I guess you call them like tutorials, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I guess you are set that tutorial work to be getting on with, like outside of lectures, but you do very much set your own schedule. So you're not, you can. I'm not sure if was this the same at Oxford. The lectures are not mandatory, so you don't actually have to go to them. They're sort of optional, or is that different to the Cambridge way?
I'm not actually sure, because all my lectures have been online. So for me, I suppose they have been optional. But in ordinary times, I think they might be optional. Sorry, I can't really answer that one.
Yeah, I guess you'll find out when you go back in September. I mean, that actually raises a good point. In September, is everybody other plans for everybody just to go back as usual, or is there going to be like hybrid learning?
So for the summer term, we haven't heard yet about whether we're going to be allowed back, unfortunately. But in September, hopefully, the expectation might be that everything's back to normal, assuming, I don't know really. We'll wait to hear from the government on that one. But it'll be quite exciting if everything's back to normal, to see whether the university decides to keep some of those policies and keep doing the online lectures and keep giving us the flexibility of being able to work more digitally.
Yeah. And so when you went up for interview, did you actually manage to go up in person, or was that sort of still at the height of the pandemic? Did you do it online?
No. I went up way before the pandemic, so last year of 2019. So there was no pandemic at the time, and so that was in person. It's very exciting to be able to go to Oxford College, be able to live there for a few days. That's kind of a difference between taking an interview at Oxford and Cambridge, is that when you take an interview at Oxford, I don't think this happens at Cambridge, but you actually get to stay in the accommodation there and get to experience a little bit of what life might be like if you are lucky enough to get a place.
Yeah, that's a great point, because at Cambridge, for some subjects you will stay like maybe one night. For example, if you have subject specific tests that you'll take at the college, like the day before, you can go up for one day and then you'll have the interviews on the next. But I think Oxford is quite unique, because I remember, at least in my year, some people ended up spending like 3 days up there because they kept on getting called back for interviews. That does happen at Oxford, right?
Yeah, I had I think it was 3 or 4 days actually in Oxford. Yeah, no, I loved it, and it really convinced me, because obviously you have certain worries about what the Oxford type is, what other people like there might be, but it really put me at ease, and I felt like I could really have a good time here.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that may have put you at ease. For some other people, it's quite intimidating as well. Being up there, you talk to them, you're like, oh, what are you doing for A level? And like, I've already done 10 A levels, and this year I'm just going up for interview, and I'm only 16. I guess it can be quite intimidating, but it depends on from person to person, and at the same time, it doesn't necessarily matter that that person is there, and they've got their 10 A levels in the bag, and they've done them all early, because the interviewers are looking for people who they're going to bond with and that they will enjoy teaching, as opposed to just people who've got those 10 A levels a couple of years early.
Yeah.
I mean, what would your tip be for the interview? Like, what do you think would be helpful for students who haven't necessarily looked into the interview process too much, or whose schools aren't necessarily giving them that sort of extra prep work?
Mm-hmm. So the first thing I'd tell you is, so like you say, there will likely be one person there maybe who's really off-putting and seems to be really impressive or seems to be a little bit obnoxious. So just try to not let that person intimidate you on the day that you go up. And in the interview itself, try to stay really calm, take some time to think really carefully before you answer the question. There's no rush at all to get started, and try and plan up the answer before you start speaking. But in terms of preparing before you get called to interview, before you're actually in the interview, I'd say practice. I found that the most valuable thing you can do is practice. It helps you to make your answers more structured, and more coherent, but it also helps you to feel more comfortable in the setting. So I used to practice, for 2-3 weeks, I practiced every night with my dad. And it meant that when I went into the real interview, I felt like, it was still very intimidating, but it felt a lot more comfortable. I felt like that I'd been in this setting before. I've been scared of answering these tricky questions before. And I'd also had practice in structuring my answers in that kind of way.
Cool. But what if your dad's not, or your parents, or you don't have somebody at home who's an expert on econ or politics or whatever subject you're applying for? I mean, does your dad have that sort of background, or does it work on anybody? Is it just like the process of getting somebody asking you questions around the topic?
Yeah, so no, my dad is very knowledgeable in these things, but he's not actually, he's nothing to do with politics, economics, or philosophy. Okay. He's actually, he's a doctor, but you cannot get anybody to ask you these questions. They don't have to have any specialist knowledge. There's lots of questions available online. So he would just ask me the questions from a big database of questions that I found online and that I'd made out of different lists of questions that you can find on the internet. But you can also get your friends to ask you those questions. And if a teacher's willing, get them to sit down for you for an hour and ask you some questions. If you can give them a list of questions to ask you that you haven't thought about, but that you found from past interviews, or use our platform, and we'll get an Oxbridge student to give you that mock interview and give you that practice and preparation.
Yeah, and I was just going to say, I guess that this is precisely the sort of thing that UniReach helps with, right? If you don't have somebody at home who you can ask, or somebody at school who's sort of able to guide you through the Oxbridge admissions process, then your mentors are there to help. I mean, what can the mentors help with? Like, they could help with sort of giving you that interview prep, but I assume that just being able to talk with somebody who's at Oxford currently is sort of like, it's really mind-opening as well.
Yeah, so there's a lot that our mentors can offer. So whether it's a mock interview, or maybe if you want them to look over your personal statement or help guide you on what kinds of things you might want to include in your personal statement. You might even be a little bit cheeky and ask to see their personal statement. Or when it comes to admissions tests, ask them to help you to prepare some things. Or just as you say, to ask about general Oxbridge life, what the course is like, get a sense of whether an Oxbridge education is something that you would enjoy and that fits well for you.
Cool. Yeah, and I think that the one thing I always like to ask is, what would you wish you'd known when you were applying? And I think the mentors can definitely offer that. But I guess I'll ask that question to you as well. For all of our viewers who are watching at the moment, what is one thing that you would tell them if they are thinking of applying to Oxford or Cambridge? What's something that you wish you'd known when you were 17, 18, thinking of applying, or sort of actually going through the application process? I suppose at the moment it's mostly sort of the former, people who are thinking of applying and not yet putting together the application process. If you just had to pick one thing, what would it be?
Okay, so if I had to pick one thing to tell myself, it would be to read. Just read really widely, anything that interests you, anything that you found you heard something on the radio in the morning and you found it really interesting, or maybe you heard something in your econ class and you thought, okay, I'm going to go home and read something about that. Actually go and do that. It will really help when you come to writing your personal statement, when you come to that interview, just to have that broad knowledge of your subject and to be able to show that you actually have a genuine passion in this subject. I think people assume that passion is just something you have, but I think it's something that you have to nurture, that you have to develop, you have to invest in by developing it and by reading about things. There's lots of things in economics that are really interesting, or in philosophy or politics or whatever the subject you're applying for is, but you've got to go out there and find them. They're not always going to be there obvious for you. And what I'd say to students who maybe aren't sure if they want to apply, I'd say just definitely go for it. Even if Oxbridge is not necessarily something that you think is right for you, even if it's the last day before the application deadline, just put Oxbridge as one of your options, because you never know, and it's definitely worth having that shot.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think even, also just going through the application process, if you're going up and seeing the colleges, it's something that's just fun to do because you do, well, not for the people who applied this year, but normally you would get to stay in accommodation if you are applying to Oxford. And for Cambridge, for some subjects, you'll actually get to stay the night. You meet a lot of cool, well, I don't know, not necessarily cool, but a lot of interesting people along the way. And you'll also get to see colleges. You'll get to, eat the food there. And it's just, just a cool experience that you will not be able to get other than when you are applying. Like there's no like, sort of ticket that you can buy to get to an interview. You just have to apply. And so it's almost like, getting invited. So it's quite special just to be up there. Yeah. And so you mentioned sort of going and doing a lot of reading around the subject. Would you say that that's sort of, in terms of getting in, what do you think is more important? Would you say luck is more important or hard work? It sounds like you did put in a lot of hard work practicing with your dad for the mock sort of interviews for 3 weeks. Sort of you were doing that every day. And also for a lot of the time you were doing reading around the subject. Also just, in terms of personal statement, there's a lot to do. There's the A-levels. So there's loads of hard work. But at the same time, a lot of the time there's a lot of luck involved in the application process. And would you say, at least for you personally, do you think it was more luck or more hard work to get in?
I think there's definitely, as you say, quite a sizable portion of it is going to be luck, right? There's lots of really, really qualified, really capable, really hardworking people that deserve a space that unfortunately don't get it. That's just because the application process isn't perfect, and maybe people who maybe were less good then end up getting the place. But obviously luck isn't something that you can control for. So I think just work really hard. I think maybe that list sounded quite daunting, but it doesn't have to be lots and lots of work, just a little bit every day. Just contribute towards developing that interest. And when it comes to the day of the application, you'll feel really ready and feel really confident that you've got a good shot.
Great. Yeah, no, really, really wise words. I think that sort of brings us to the end of this Instagram Live. And definitely for anybody watching, that's, I think we'll end on those words, because luck is something that we're often thinking about. We're often thinking, if I get lucky, I'll be able to get in. And so it's something that, that can almost sort of like overburden us. I'm not a lucky person. How am I going to get in? I'm never going to be that lucky. But I think, as Naman said, luck, luck isn't something that you can control for. So there's no point necessarily thinking, oh, if I get super lucky, I'll be able to get in. But there's always the chance that I won't. So I'm just not even going to apply in the first place. That, I think that's sort of an especially important point to hone into. So thank you for bringing it up, Naman. But yeah, that's sort of all we have for tonight. We'll keep it short and sweet. We're running these Instagram Lives every evening during the weekdays. So at 10 o'clock, we'll be going live on Instagram. We were going to do it on TikTok, but we've decided to keep it on Instagram for a certain number of reasons. But yeah, Instagram is the place to be. These videos will also be uploaded to UniReach's YouTube, so definitely go ahead and check them out. And they will also be available on our IGTV for anybody who's watching afterwards. So that's it. I'm Phil from EasyA, and I was here today with Naman from UniReach, who is a current first-year student studying PPE at Oxford. So thank you very much, Naman, for taking the time to talk with me today, and I hope that everybody enjoyed watching too.
Thanks so much, Phil. And I just, just flag if you're interested in getting free maths and science tutoring provided by EasyA and UniReach together, then sign up in the form in our bio. I think it's in EasyA's bio too. We're going to be launching that very soon. So get that signed.
Perfect. Yes. No, thanks, Naman, for mentioning that. And yeah, hope to see everybody in the next Instagram Lives. Tomorrow, who do we have coming to speak, Naman?
We have Zara. She's an engineering student at Oxford.
Perfect. Yeah, really looking forward to speaking with her tomorrow then. Great. See you, Naman, and see everybody. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.